Happy Friday the 13th, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking, and here we are at the catalyst of the confusing and tangled web this series calls a story. Much like with 999, Scott Cawthon didn't have all these sequels and stories planned out when he made the first game, but after its success, Scott's creative gloves came off and all hell broke loose. But does bigger equal better? Find out with me as we give it everything we've got. This is my review of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. First teased in September of 2014, 1 month after the first game's release, and released 2 months later on November 11th, all of the marketing for this game revolved around two key ideas. And by marketing, I mean the teaser images Scott put on his website that would get annoyingly vague as time goes on. The two key ideas were that the restaurant was reopening, and that the animatronics we knew and somewhat hated were being replaced with newer, brighter, and more kid-friendly models. However, despite taking place in a much bigger and cleaner establishment and featuring more than double the amount of homicidal furries trying to wear your skin like a blanket, the gameplay itself doesn't change very much. As you may have noticed, the office no longer has any doors. Instead, there's two vents and a big-ass hallway right in front of you. This is the first example of this game having new mechanics that are really just the old mechanics with a slightly different coat of paint. Instead of doors and lights, you have a Freddy mask and a flashlight. If you see an animatronic in the vent or in front of you, you plop the mask on and it acts as your door. And, much like the first game, there is a pattern that you can establish quite early on that is virtually foolproof. Although your success on harder difficulties will rely almost entirely on luck, which is always just the best. Also, it's the exact same freaking pattern as the first game. You really only need to look at one camera and then follow a very strict pattern when you flip your camera down. And I really hate that we were put in such a big location, yet it ends up feeling just as small as the first one since we only need to pay attention to the same amount of space in each one. However, one thing that is certainly different is the amount of psycho murder bots trying to make your insides your outside. And we've got a whole host of new friends to meet, so let's get to it. When I said he wasn't opposed to a good face-off, I didn't think he'd take it this seriously, but hey, he doesn't seem to mind it that much. Withered Bonnie! She has now begun to assert her dominance via T-pose over all the Rule 34 artists that led to the creation of her plastic counterpart and has as many mouths as a xenomorph, which is unsettling to say the least. Withered Chica! From hiding behind his curtain to constantly waiting at the end of the hallway, looking for his perfect opportunity to lunge full speed at your f***ing face, Withered Foxy! He really just looks like he's getting too old for this shit, but Jesus Christ, Freddy, when did you get that tall? Withered Freddy! The first new animatronic showed off in the teasers, and anyone who had completed 1020 mode immediately shuddered at the sight of the most inconsiderate plastic bitch since Kim Kardashian, Toy Bonnie! The physical manifestation of Scott realizing there was nothing he could do to stop the Rule 34, so he might as well embrace it. And to show you how much FNaF fans overanalyze every corner of these games, it was debated for years why her beak falls off, Toy Chica! The animatronic that has sparked several long-running debates that will probably never be solved, from the actually interesting questions like what group of animatronics does he belong to the stupid questions like what is her gender despite being a fucking robot, Mangle! The receiver of all of the awkward roundedness that was sucked out of Chica and not really intimidating in any way, which is a real problem with all of these toy animatronics, but shows the biggest disparity here, Toy Freddy! The little that doesn't even kill you, he just steals your flashlight batteries and watches you suffer in silence while he laughs in your face like a little balloon boy! The literal puppet master kept at bay by a music box, even though it doesn't have ears, but it's probably explained by the dead child's soul that inhabits it or something, I don't know, and you better be ready to get closer to her than you ever really wanted to, the puppet! And the creature who went from mysterious Easter egg to literally one of, if not the most important characters in the entire franchise in the space of one game, Golden Freddy! Also, the same phone guy from the first one makes his triumphant return here, and if you've played the first one, you know why that doesn't really make sense. Yet. While these robots are busy killing you, you'll be busy playing the strange mini-games that have a chance of appearing every time you die. These mini-games are really what opened the Pandora's box that led to the insane jumbled mess of fragmented events and actions known as the FNaF lore. They feature such fun things like you playing as the puppet and giving life to dead children by trapping their souls in the animatronics, playing as Foxy and running towards excited children until a purple guy watches you run into a room of very dead children, playing as Freddy and feeding very hungry children while a child cries outside until a violet dude rolls up in the whip and murders the child, and playing as Freddy and following the puppet around until you're attacked by a grape man. And all throughout these mini-games, a distorted voice in the background is spelling things out like save them, and help him. And when the lavender person attacks you, the phrase "you can't" appears on the screen. Also, most of them end in a jump scare because fuck you, that's why. As you can see, those mini-games were so freaking vague that people immediately started making theories about what they meant, which is good because it distracted them from how annoying the gameplay was. Much like the first one, the name is a bold-faced lie and there's a more challenging Night 6 and a custom Night 7. Night 6 actually has more story and confirms that this game serves as a prequel to the first one, as the phone guy informs that
someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right.
He says the place has been shut down for the moment, Jeremy, your character, will be on the day shift for the final birthday party tomorrow, and the phone guy will take the night shift when the place opens back up. And at the beginning of the first game, he was just finishing up his final week on the night shift.
I actually worked in that office before you. I'm finishing up my last week now, as a matter of fact.
I'll explain more about what the very vague statement about someone using a yellow suit means next time, and trust me, it's not as simple as you think, because Five Nights at Freddy's has a relationship with Symbol like Jeffrey Epstein and adult women. It just doesn't happen. But it's safe to assume the bite of 87 mentioned previously happened at that final birthday party, as the toy animatronics are scrapped shortly after, and they promise to fix the old ones and open in a smaller restaurant. Also, your check is dated 1987, so there's that. I know, I said I wasn't going to be interpreting all the lore clues, and I won't be. I'll just be going over elements that are essential to understanding of the story of the game I'm reviewing. Anyway, Custom Night. This Custom Night has seen many improvements over the first one. You still get the third and final star from beating all of the animatronics on max difficulty, but now there are added presets like Cupcake Challenge, Ladies Night, Double Trouble, Freddy Circus, and more. Completing each of the challenge modes unlocks a plushie that will remain on your office desk because Scott knows merchandising opportunities when he sees one. It adds a new wrinkle to the gameplay, as you're only dealing with a select few animatronics set on different difficulties, so you might actually have to adjust your strategy accordingly. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 could do no wrong. The series was at its peak in popularity, and everyone was eagerly anticipating this sequel.
I am so high, bro.
And while playing through it at the time, it was incredible, and it put even more excitement toward the third and what was believed to be the final entry. However, looking back on it now, with the hype around the game gone and the series being a pop culture staple for years now, the game holds up the least. It has the same exact formula as the original, and at its core, it's really style over substance. Yes, there's a sense of panic present here that wasn't there in the first, but the tension and dread created by the atmosphere of the first is pretty much completely gone. 6 out of 10. The best way I can describe this game is that it is a second installment in a trilogy in every sense of the word. It exists to expand the world and set up the third entry. As we know, the third entry was far from the last, but next time, things will get personal when we hop to the future. I hope to see you there.